Hello everyone. Tonight I want to give you our devotional out of Mark chapter 5. And it starts with verse 22. Then came one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and seeing him he fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, My little daughter is at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, so that she may be made well and live. And he went with him. And a great crowd, followed him and thronged him. And there was a woman who had a discharge of blood for 12 years, and who had suffered much under many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. She had heard the reports of Jesus. This is what this is what we're going to talk about this evening. She heard the reports of Jesus, and came up behind him in the crowd, and touched his garment. For she said, If I touch even his garments, I will be made well. And immediately the flow of blood dried up, and she felt her body that she was healed of her disease. And Jesus, perceiving in himself that power had gone out from him, immediately turned about in the crowd and said, Who touched my garment? See, by faith, when we reach out and touch Jesus, he stops and asks that question, Who touched me? And his disciples said to him, You see the crowd pressing around you, and yet you say, Who touched me? And he looked around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling, and fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. I want to talk about a couple things in this passage. The first thing I want to share with us is she heard about Jesus. You know, someone had to tell her about Jesus. Maybe she would have heard about the compassion and the mercy of Jesus. Maybe she heard about the Sermon on the Mount. Maybe the great miracles that he had performed, the calming of the sea, the healing of the withered hand of the man, cleansing the leopard. Maybe, she heard one of those things or many of those things, but she heard someone had to tell her. And I want to encourage us today. We have to go and tell people who Jesus is. See, there are people in great need, spiritual need, physical need, emotional needs. And we have to go tell them about Jesus. What are we telling people about Jesus? Because there's a lot of false news in this world. Are we letting people know the truth about the good news of the gospel? See, Jesus is the fullness of grace and truth. That's what we need to be speaking to people. Is Jesus your healer? Is Jesus your provider? Is Jesus your reconciler? Is Jesus your deliverer? Is Jesus your great shepherd? See, there's a lot to tell. We need to talk about the good news of Jesus. And so she was able to step out because someone told her about Jesus. Romans 10:17 says, So then faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Come on, church, we need to get the word out to the people, to the world, about the goodness of Jesus. See, the reports that she heard built within her a great faith. She decided to reach out and to touch him. She was unclean, ceremonial, unclean by the law, that she shouldn't even been around a crowd. She shouldn't have been around people, let alone going and touching Jesus. And she could have been stoned for doing that. But to approach Jesus, she had to pass through a great multitude of people. Can you imagine that today, what we're going through? And, we're going through riots, and we're going through a lot of things that are happening. Are we willing sometimes to pass through the crowd, the multitude, to go receive our healing from Jesus? Are we willing to pass through the multitude, the crowd, who is saying, you don't belong here. He is not here for you. See, he was going to see Jairus' daughter to bring healing to her. And on his way, she comes into the crowd. And Jesus was on his way for someone else. But today, her faith stopped Jesus. Come on, today, our faith needs to stop Jesus. I want to encourage you today. Jesus is everything he says he is. He is always near to us, waiting for us to reach out and to touch him. Notice her great faith. If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. It happened just as she believed. Just as she believed. If I could just touch the hem of his garments. The moment she touched the hem of his garments, she was healed. She received her miracle that she was waiting for 12 long years. I ask you today, what have you spent your money and your time on? Looking for healing, deliverance, some answer to a situation in your life that you have just been waiting for years and years, that you just need to fight through the crowd, the naysayers, the negativity, the discouragement, the disappointments, and just by faith touch the hem of his garment. That's what I want to encourage you today. We need to get rid of the multitude in the crowd, the naysayers, the discouragers, and the people that are talking negativity, and we have to be willing to fight through the crowd. And just by faith, touch Jesus. I want to leave you with this. This is the act of faith. The act of faith stopped Jesus. It changed his direction. It released power. She was made whole. And that word whole means to save, keep safe and sound, to rescue from danger or destruction. And she was called daughter. All this can be yours with a simple faith. A faith the size of a mustard seed. So I encourage you to today, fight through the crowd and reach out and touch Jesus. That's what I want to leave with you tonight. Are you willing to fight through the crowd and touch Jesus? God bless you, and just have a great evening.